Good morning and welcome to Meals with Melissa, where I make healthier versions of foods that you like to eat. And of course I make them uncomplicated because I don't do complicated. So today we're actually making something. Now, if you have ever done like a version of a keto diet, this is actually something you might be familiar with. It's technically a fat bomb, but for most people I don't recommend keto anyway. So we're actually calling it a sugar-free Mocha Cheesecake Bite. Now, I love coffee and I love chocolate, so it works for me. Now today, like normal, I'm actually making a half recipe, just because the recipe makes an incredible amount of these, and you really don't need that. I find that if I have too many of them in my freezer, I tend to eat too many of them. So, making a smaller batch is a great idea, especially if maybe you just need some go-tos to take with you to work. So super simple today. It doesn't involve any baking or cooking whatsoever. I'm actually just going to mix everything together and throw it in the freezer. So again, I will post the full recipe down below, but I am making a half recipe today just because it just works for me. And I totally forgot to put on my apron. Let me grab it. It's super cool. My son recommended it that I make this, and so we're going to wear this every week. Let me grab it real quick. Super cool. Check this out. Pretty excited about this. Look at that. Meals with Melissa. Now, it's probably backwards to you, but, pretty cool deal there. So, all right, got my apron going so I can protect myself. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do now, it's really important to actually set out a couple of the ingredients because they do need to be room temperature so that they mix well. You're going to be using, for a full batch, 8 ounces of cream cheese, full fat. Again, I do super low carbs during the week, so I need a little bit more in the way of fat, so this works for me. Now, of course, if your macros are a little bit different, you might have to adjust and use something that's a little bit lower fat or fat-free. So I've already set it out. It's already room temperature, so it'll mix easier. So I'm doing 4 ounces of full-fat cream cheese and half of a stick of unsalted butter. So that's going in my giant bowl. Now, you're gonna want a big bowl because it's really thick, and so it kind of is a little messy to mix. But we're gonna mix that together with a hand mixer. It's gonna take me a second. Now, it might bind up a little bit in your beaters. That's okay. Just take a big spatula and just work your way, rubber scraper, work your way out of that. So I'm gonna mix these together. Perfect. Okay. Now, as you can see, it kind of binds up a little bit. There we go. I just kind of lifted it, let it all kind of get out of the beaters there. So, got those 2 ingredients mixed together. Now we're going to add, for my half recipe, 1 tablespoon of instant coffee. Make sure that it's instant coffee and not coffee grounds, because that would be a little weird and probably a little obnoxious. Okay, so I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon. I'm just gonna add the rest of the ingredients before I mix again. So, tablespoon of instant coffee. I'm also going to add, believe it or not, this is just kind of a hard one because technically it calls for a heaping 1/3 cup of confectioner's erythritol. So of course I use Swerve, super inexpensive. You just get it at any grocery store. Like I said, a lot of the grocery stores are now carrying a little bit more in the way of health food supplies, which are great. So you don't have to find a health food store and pay those health food store prices, right? So because it's 1/3 of a cup, I'm actually just going to estimate a half of that. Okay, so I do have a 1/3 cup measure. I'm just gonna get about half of that. Honestly, to be a little off won't be a big deal. And it depends too. If you like things a little sweeter, which the more that I eat clean, the less sweet that I actually like. I still love sweets, but I don't need it to be super sweet. So I might guesstimate here on the low side. So I'm gonna add that to my mix. Okay, and then I also need about 3/4 of a tablespoon to 1 tablespoon of unsweetened cocoa powder. Again, I'm having the recipe, so it's a little weird on some of the amounts, but that works for me. I'm just gonna do about a tablespoon because I love chocolate, and of course, this is unsweetened cocoa powder, but it gives it that mocha flavor. We got the coffee and the chocolate together. Okay, and then last but not least, let me make sure I've just got it all. It's a coffee. I'm going to add just under a 1/4 cup of Lily's sugar-free chocolate chips. They're awesome. They're made with stevia, not Splenda or sucralose. You know, sucralose actually is still can spike blood sugar. So I try to stay away from that as much as possible, especially during the week when I tend to go extremely low carb and a little bit higher in fats. They taste great. You can't really tell the difference, especially, now I'm not gonna say you can't taste the difference. If you're going from full sugar chocolate chips to these, yeah, you're gonna kind of have a little bit of a bitter taste, but we've gotten super used to them at my house. It's just a healthier version of something. I don't want all that added sugar. Now, if you don't have that, you can go as super dark of chocolate chips as you want to, and I like the mini ones because I can add more. Of course, with it, how is that a bad thing? So I'm gonna add that to my mix. Okay, I'm gonna finish mixing this up. So of course, it'll turn a little bit different color with the cocoa powder. And it'll take a minute to incorporate it all, and I will need to spray down the bowl. All right. Smells good, I'm telling you. All right, I'm gonna scrape down the bowl really quick. And like I said, it might bind up in your beaters just a little bit, and you can just scrape them out or lift it up a little bit. Let them spin out. You just want to get all the extra mix that are on the sides of the bowl. Again, I know you can't really see that part, but just know it's there. You'll see what it looks like in just a second. Now, like I said, a full recipe makes 12 bombs or 12 bites. I'm only doing a half batch, so it should make about 6. Now, you could be extremely detailed and weigh them out, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to guesstimate because I don't need to be that detailed right now. Okay, just mixing this up. There we go. There we go. Just clean the beaters. Super, super simple. Yeah, you're gonna have a hard time not licking the beaters, but be my guest, right? That's at least a little bit better version of something. Okay, so then you're gonna take your pan, whatever pan you want. I'm using my favorite tool ever, parchment paper, so that it doesn't stick. And I'm just going to use an ice cream scoop and scoop them out. Now, it's a little too sticky to make like true balls, you know, the bites. That's okay. They don't have to be any particular exact shape. And then of course I'm gonna get my hand all sticky a little bit too, but no biggie. So I'm going to size them out, scoop them out, put them on my baking sheet, and then all you have to do is freeze them for like 3 hours. And if you want, then you can transfer them into an airtight container and just store them in your freezer until you eat them. Super simple, works great, you know, especially if you're just craving some chocolate, you have a sweet tooth, need something, you know, above and beyond what you're eating on a regular basis. You might have to hide them so you don't eat all of them at once, but it is a really wonderful recipe, especially if you love cheesecake. So that is Meals with Melissa. Try it out. Let me know how these work out for you. I love feedback. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, or if you have a really great recipe that we should try. Make sure that you message me directly through Facebook Messenger. I do respond. Now, make sure it's a question or comment. Don't just say hi and then nothing else. I actually want to communicate. So have an incredible weekend, and until next week, that's Meals with Melissa. Bye now.